used to poison former Russian spy Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia. President Putin says claims his country were behind that attack is nonsense, but Boris Johnson claims Russia has been stockpiling Novichok for years. Test results could be seen in around 2 weeks' time.
Official results from Russia show that President Putin has been re-elected with more than 76% of the vote. He told a victory rally that Russia must maintain unity following his landslide win, but CCTV footage from a number of polling stations appears to show election officials stuffing boxes with ballot papers.
The television presenter Ant McPartlin has been arrested on suspicion of drink driving. Police say they were called to reports of a collision involving 3 cars in southwest London yesterday afternoon. A child passenger in one of them was taken to hospital as a precaution. In a statement, Scotland Yard said a 42-year-old man was arrested at the scene after failing a breathalyser test.
A British woman's been killed in northern Syria fighting alongside Kurdish forces. It's understood that Anna Campbell, who was 26 and from Lewes in East Sussex, died in the town of Afrin, which has been the target of a Turkish offensive. Her father has told the BBC she was idealistic and knew she was putting her life at risk.
Scientists have announced a significant breakthrough in the treatment of multiple sclerosis. Results from a decade-long international trial have shown a stem cell transplant can halt the disease and improve symptoms. The disabling condition affects around 100,000 people in the United Kingdom. Doctors in Sheffield, who were part of the study, say the new treatment is a game-changer for many patients.
We'll talk about that in a little bit more depth a bit later here on Breakfast.
Someone who's suffering with MS and somebody who's involved in that trial as well. It's at 6:35. Now, if you're a big golfer, you may well have been watching Rory McIlroy produce one of those, what they say, don't they, when he putts as well as he can, he's pretty unstoppable.
And he said yesterday that he played the perfect round of golf. I have no idea what that feels like.
I'm sure very few people do.
Imagine playing the perfect round of golf.
I've just seen he's tweeted actually in the last few minutes saying 539 days but worth the wait, because it's been a while for somebody of his quality. It's been a while waiting.
He's obviously been counting the days. Yeah, a year and a half. I think it was the 25th of September 2016. He won his last tournament, which, funnily enough, was the day that Arnold Palmer died, and the Arnold Palmer Invitational was the tournament that he won yesterday. But yeah, Rory is back with just a couple of weeks ago to the Masters as well. It's a pretty good timing for the Northern Irishman. He hit 5 birdies in the last 6 holes to finish on 18 under par, 3 shots clear of the rest of the field. Tiger Woods' rejuvenation continued as well. The 14-time major champion was tied for 5th, 8 shots behind McIlroy.
All these little barriers that you have to overcome, whether it be physical or mental, it's huge for my confidence going into the next few weeks. And I kept saying I didn't need a win going into Augusta to feel like I had a chance. I just wanted to see signs of good golf, and thankfully I've been able to get both today.
Another player returning to form was Laura Davis. She finished tied for 2nd at the Founders Cup in Phoenix. It's her best finish on the LPGA Tour since 2007. She said maybe now people will stop asking her when she'll retire. She's 54, Laura Davis. Chelsea will face Southampton in the semi-finals of the FA Cup, coming through 2-1 against Leicester after extra time. It was Pedro's goal that sealed Chelsea's spot in the Final Four, their 10th FA Cup semi-final in 18 years. Not a bad record there, but it is their only realistic chance of winning a trophy this season.
For sure, if you are able to win a trophy, it's important. It's important for a team like Chelsea. But at the same time, I repeat, the most important thing is for us and to fight until the end for every competition.
Mark Hughes had a good first game in charge of Southampton. They beat League One side Wigan 2-0 to reach the FA Cup semi-finals. Defender Cedric Suarez scored their 2nd in stoppage time.
People have questioned this group clearly before I've arrived, and maybe questioned my appointment as well. So I think it's only a start, but it's a statement of intent. We've got a lot of work to do in the Premier League clearly, but we'll enjoy this moment, and it's a Wembley semi-final.
Celtic were held to a goalless draw by 10-man Motherwell, but they still extended their lead at the top of the Scottish Premiership to 10 points now. Motherwell's Cedric Kipre was sent off for kicking out, but that was the closest Celtic came to taking the lead. That effort there, Patrick Roberts letting fly late on. Despite being a man down, the home side held on for a point. There's the replay. What a strike. Roger Federer's incredible run at the start of this year has come to an end. He was beaten in the final of the Indian Wells Masters by Juan Martín del Potro. It's the Argentine's second tournament win in a row after victory earlier this month in Mexico. The former US champion had to save 3 match points before becoming the first person this year to beat the world number 1. And the women's final was won in straight sets by Japan's Naomi Osaka, who overcame Russia's Daria Kasatkina in straight sets. It's a first ever WTA Tour win for Osaka, who's ranked 44th in the world. Ireland's Six Nations Grand Slam winning team celebrated their success in Dublin yesterday. Watch out for flash photography coming up here. The Irish team is supposed to be attending a Grand Slam celebration event at the Aviva Stadium, but it was cancelled because of the bad weather. Instead, fans got to see players showing off the trophy outside the team's hotel. There's Rory Best and the trophy there, reflecting those camera flashlights. Scotland finished their Women's Six Nations campaign in 5th place after being well beaten by Italy in Padova on a terrible pitch. Look at that. Italy won by 26 points to 12, with Beatrice Rigoni crossing the line to secure their bonus point. France clinched their 5th Grand Slam with Friday's thumping of Wales. And this is our favourite story of the morning so far. Would you be brave enough, do you think, to break into Sir Andy Murray's hotel? A man who, famously a little
break into
grumpy.
anybody's hotel.
It's
just a thing.
Well, Michael McIntyre, the comedian, has done just that. Take a look at these pictures. He kind of sneaks in the middle of the night. This is for Sport Relief, by the way. And, Michael McIntyre does this as part of his Saturday night show, doesn't he? Look at the cameras. In they go.
It's a big bed.
And then all of a sudden...
Andy! Welcome to the Sport Relief Midnight Game Show!
Properly asleep. Look at Andy Murray's face there. Lots of bleeping, as you'd expect. I mean, Andy Murray needs a bleeper when he's on the tennis court, let alone being woken in the middle of the night by one of Britain's most famous comedians. Yeah, fantastic. And then Peppa Pig or Daddy Pig comes in. I mean, what a surreal experience for Andy Murray. And this is all for Sport Relief, which is obviously taking place on Friday. So you get to see the full thing.
He is a good
He is.
sport,
He's a very funny chap, is Andy Murray. Yeah.
And while
I tell you what, his he's gone very quickly from being very fast asleep to smiling, which is admirable.
I like the fact the whole crew are in tennis gear.
Yeah,
as well.
everyone's dressed up. They've really gone for it, haven't they?
A question that concerns me, not concerns me. Do you think does he sleep in the nude, or is he
Well,
got?
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't done that much research, Dan. I'll try and find out for
Well,
you.
some people go for that, don't they?
Nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying. I'm just
I
interested.
know, but
to
what
know.
if the
I want-
duvet had slipped? I mean, it could have been a very different
Anyway,
story, couldn't it? You're
okay.
right.
Oh, when are you doing your own, Dan?
Yes, Sport Relief Rowing, Wednesday.
Okay.
Well, no, Friday. It's on Friday, but we're doing it on Wednesday.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
I'll try and come see it. More than that throughout the week. 6:41. So more than 80 drivers have been stranded overnight in Devon.
The A30 was hit by heavy snow, and police say conditions are changing rapidly from passable to impossible.
Well, we know that many people had to spend the night at a local school after a 64-mile stretch of the A30 was shut. Police officers and Highways England cleared the route.
Police say accidents are now starting to be reported this morning. They're advising motorists to delay their journeys in the southwest of England and, perhaps most importantly, to slow down.
Of course. Joining us now is Richard White, who's been managing this rescue centre where many of the motorists took refuge. Morning to you. We can just about see you, Richard. Just tell us what's been going on overnight. How many people have you had to look after?
Well, we've got 82 people here at the moment. Some of them are just waking up to a very, very cold morning. It has just stopped snowing. It stopped snowing about 20 minutes ago. But as you can probably see behind me, there's quite significant falls of snow here. And it's been -3 for most of the night. So the snow that has started to melt has now just refrozen, and it's absolutely treacherous.
Yes, and how was the mood overnight?
No, it was very good, actually. People, as they were coming into the centre, were very tired. Some of them were very cold. Some of them had been actually in their vehicles for significant periods of time. So we had medical staff here to make sure that they were okay. And as soon as they were fine, we equipped them with duvets, with blankets, and got them to sleep.
So how long do you think they're going to be there, and what are you going to give them for breakfast?
Well, we're very lucky. We've got a fantastic Waitrose in Okehampton who take their social responsibility very, very clearly, and we've got some food from them for breakfast. So it's going to be breakfast butties with lots of bacon. We've also got cereal and fruit juice for the kids. So a really good hearty breakfast. The mood here is absolutely superb. Obviously, people don't want to be trapped in their vehicles. This is not a scenario that they ever envisaged when they set out, and so it's nice for them to come into a centre where it's warm, where they're being cared for. We'll look after them, and eventually, when the conditions are ready, we'll pop them back in their cars and get them on the way.
OK, well, listen, Richard, thank you very much for joining us, and best of luck throughout the morning. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.
6:43, that's a picture that Richard's painting for us. Sarah has the weather for us today and can tell us exactly what it's going to be looking like for many parts of the UK this morning, Sarah, because there's still, as we were saying, there are those weather concerns and weather reports and warnings out there, aren't there?
Yeah, that's right. Dan and Louise, good morning to you both. It is a cold start to the day, certainly. We've got a lot of lying snow around the country, a lot of ice around too. I'm here on the roof of New Broadcasting House in central London. So even here in central London, we've got some lying snow, not too much of it, but across some other parts of the country, there's up to around 20 centimetres of snow. And ice is going to be more of a problem today as well, because what we will see is some of that snow just starting to thaw out a little bit through the day and then refreezing once the sun sets overnight tonight. So I think we're not out of the woods just yet in terms of the disruption down to the wintry weather. But as we head through the course of this week, things will start to change a bit. After that cold, dry start, it will be gradually turning a little bit milder, and later in the week there'll be the arrival of some rain too. But for the here and now this morning, then most of us are dry. A bit more cloud across southern England down towards the Channel Isles, bringing a few flurries of snow around here, but most other places look dry. So plenty of sunshine on offer, still quite breezy across England and Wales, less windy though for Scotland and Northern Ireland. So through this afternoon, it's certainly looking drier for the southwest of England, Wales, through the Midlands and the southeast of England too. Heading northwards, plenty of sunshine, breaking through any of that cloud across northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland as well. Bit more cloud just pushing in around the east coast of Scotland and northeast England. But for western Scotland and Northern Ireland, it should feel really quite pleasant out there today with the sunshine and the light winds around too. Now, temperatures still not doing great for the time of year, so only reaching around about 3 to 7 Celsius for most of us out there this afternoon. It's quite a wind chill still across parts of England and Wales, but it won't be as cold or as windy as it was through the weekend, and most places stay dry. On into the evening hours then, a bit more cloud rolls in across parts of England and Wales too, whereas Scotland and Northern Ireland keep the clear skies and the light winds. So it'll be here that the temperatures will be lowest overnight. In fact, as low as around -5 degrees first thing through the central belt of Scotland. Further south, not quite as cold, but there still will be some icy stretches around, perhaps 1 or 2 patches of freezing fog first thing Tuesday as well. Through the day on Tuesday, we are expecting a little bit more cloud and perhaps 1 or 2 rogue showers across parts of eastern England, but elsewhere looks dry and fairly sunny as well. It'll be less windy during Tuesday and temperatures just starting to nudge up, so we might see around about 8, possibly 9 degrees during the day on Tuesday. Tuesday evening then we'll start to see that cloud in the south and the east slowly clearing away, but then we're going to see the next area of low pressure arriving from the Atlantic. So through Tuesday night and then on into Wednesday, more cloud builds across Scotland into Northern Ireland as well. And then overnight that cloud will bring some patchy outbreaks of rain to the northwest of the UK. Through the day on Wednesday we'll continue to see a bit of patchy rain for Scotland and for Northern Ireland too. England and Wales, though, should hold on to the slightly drier weather with the best of the sunshine towards the south and the east. 8 or 9 degrees for most of us, but we could just see double figures in 1 or 2 places on Wednesday, something we haven't seen for a little while. So slowly those temperatures through this week are starting to creep up, but certainly for today it is another cold and a wintry day as well, still quite a wind chill around. So certainly a day for wrapping up, and the weather is likely to continue to cause a little bit more disruption today. Back to you both.
Thank you very much. You're right, Dan.
Yes, yeah.
What do you think? Whether that was snow on that bus or it was?
That's exactly what I was looking at. Yes, but
I think it's just a white top to the bus.
It is excellent.
It's also, we were both transfixed momentarily.
Sorry, yes, I was just staring there.
There are concerns about the decline of local papers and that it could be fueling the rise of fake news. Steph is having a little look at why.
Yeah, it's not a surprise, is it, to people about the local newspaper sector's had a tough time over the last few years as more of us get our news online. So last week, the Culture Secretary, Matt Hancock, decided to launch a review into whether this is fuelling fake news online. Because if you look at how many papers have actually closed since 2005, it's 200 local newspapers that have shut down. So the argument is, given that they're not there doing local journalism, what's filling in the gaps? So I went to find out a bit more about it at the Coventry Evening Telegraph. Have a look at this.
By 3:30, nearly 100,000 copies of the paper have been printed.
For over 100 years, the Coventry Evening Telegraph has been a trusted source of news in this city. And only once in that time have its presses stopped rolling, when it was hit by the Blitz in 1940. At its peak, it had 600 staff and sold 130,000 copies every day. But things are different now.
In the last 12 years, about 200 local papers have closed. And the reason is simple. They're not making as much money from advertising. So back in 2007, about £3 billion was coming into local papers from ads. By last year, that was under 700 million.
The thing is, advertisers are still spending, it's just going elsewhere.
A lot of that money is going online, but it's not going online to online newspapers. It's generally going to big classified specialist sites like Rightmove or Autotrader. It's also going to Google search, and in the last couple of years it's been going to Facebook big time.
So this is one of the old presses. It was state of the art when it was installed.
The editor of the Coventry Telegraph says although newspaper sales were down by a fifth last year, more people than ever are reading the work of its reporters.
We can see how the presses were used in the past. Obviously, all this kit's redundant now, but the paper certainly isn't, is it? There's so much innovation going on.
No. So we still publish 3 editions a day, 6 days a week, but also our website is absolutely thriving. We reach a bigger audience now across print and digital than we have done in decades. The nostalgia's great, but the world's changed, we've changed with it. My reporters are as adept at doing a Facebook Live as they are at writing 400 words of copy.
This paper has moved on. But does it matter if others close? Well, the government is worried the decline of local newspapers could be fueling the rise of fake news and has launched a review of the industry. A recent study by King's College London found people in areas with no local daily paper were less engaged in local elections and had less trust in local institutions. So how do the people of Coventry get their local news?
Do you ever buy a local newspaper?
No, because it's really easier to access everything that is going on and, cross-checking everything at the same time via my phone.
We have the local Telegraph delivered every day.
If we need to find anything, it's Google. Coventry Telegraph comes straight on the app and it's news rather than having to look at all the adverts.
People still want local news, but with the papers facing a fierce battle for our attention online, can they find the audience and the advertisers they need to make it pay? Well, if they can't, there's a chance we'll all be poorer for it.
Love seeing the old pictures.
Yeah.
They're fab, aren't they? But
Yes.
what's interesting is the fact that they don't make as much money from the online advertising as they do from what they print in papers. But if you look at the numbers now, they're really growing the online side of things. Obviously, we gave you the stats there in the Coventry Evening Telegraph. To give you a few more, the Birmingham Mail, there's 20,000 that they physically sell, but 400,000 look at their website every day. The Manchester Evening News, it's huge. They sell around 40,000 of them a day, but actually over 1 million people are visiting their website every day. Liverpool Echo, over 40,000 buy the paper, like the MEN, and nearly 700,000 people are looking online. So there is that growth on the online side of things, and that's what the Culture Secretary wants to really get into is that enough to make sure that we don't have the fake news out there?
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because local news is so important
people
to
want
people,
it.
isn't it? Because it's what happens, in the car park next or whatever.
Yeah.
It's really, really important, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, definitely.
And for the many people who want to be journalists, it's a
Absolutely,
great way of learning your trade as well, isn't it?
I started in local radio, and I expect you probably did too.
Look where you are now.
Well, I didn't want to. That's not why I was saying it. I'm just really passionate about it. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
It's 8 minutes to 7. Good morning. Now, residents of 13 seaside chalets teetering on the edge of the cliffs in Norfolk have been evacuated from their homes after parts of the fragile coastline gave way. It's made of sand, isn't it? The sand cliffs during
Yes.
high winds and waves over the weekend.
Causing serious issues for people. Our reporter Robbie West is there for us. Morning to you. Just tell us what's been going on overnight.
Well, Louise, overnight even more of the coastline has disappeared, leaving residents to really fear that their homes could plunge into the sea at any moment. If you look behind me, you can really see what a fortnight of strong winds, rough seas have done to this cliff, repeatedly battering the shoreline, 3-metre high waves, and on Saturday night, winds of 49 miles per hour nearly blew me off my feet. I've spent the weekend here with the local community and the emergency services to see how they've evacuated people. Over the weekend, as the tide was drawing in, lifeboat crews helped move people's furniture out. Stephen Chadwick knew he had to go after seeing his garden disappear overnight.
Yeah, just bought it for sea views, beautiful sea views, and now the sea's taking it away. Woke up this morning, had a cup of coffee at 7:30 at the back door, and I felt it was like an earthquake, and the cliff just went. It's just in total shock, and watching people taking my house apart. I don't think I'll be here tomorrow.
Homeowners were evacuated following a fortnight of high tides and easterly winds that had washed the coast's natural defences away. The next morning, the damage could be seen. The council say 13 homes remain in a precarious position and are being inspected after each high tide.
These properties probably won't be lived in again. The damage caused there, I was up there, as I say, Friday, and then Saturday, the dune what was there was about 6 metre dune, that is actually gone.
Paul Ray joined the lifeboat crews after seeing his home. He believes it's unsafe for his wife and 2 dogs to return to the house that they have lived in for the past 8 years.
To look at it, I think to myself, that's my home, and I've lost it. But I've got to look on the positive side that I wasn't in there last night and we lost our lives and everything, and everybody got us out and looked after us very well. So I've got to move forward. Though I have lost my home.
5 years ago here in Hemsby, 3 homes were washed away following a storm surge. This morning, people will return, hoping history hasn't repeated itself. Well, I'm joined now by Keith, who's the chairman of the parish council. Keith, how are the community holding up?
The community are holding up quite well, actually. I mean, it's a good rallied support from everyone over the weekend. The parish council, borough councillors, county councillors, everyone's here at the weekend. The lifeboat crew have been fantastic, as they always are. The police, everyone's worked well. And the fire brigade were here. There was meetings all day yesterday trying to ensure that everyone is safe. So everyone's mucked in. Even Tesco's, they've mucked in with food. Hemsby Village Hall, there was accommodation there. Even the local pub has put people up.
But this isn't the first time this has happened here.
No, it happened a couple of years ago. I mean, we'd have thought the government would have listened to how we badly need and sea defences here. People's homes going into the sea, that was 2 or 3 2 years ago. Now we could potentially have 6 go into the sea. How many more houses is it going to take to go into the sea to get sea defences sorted out for Hemsby?
And what happens now?
What happens now, I think everyone will sit around, talk about it. Hopefully it'll go back to, Parliament or the government to see if they can help us down here. We're in a really bad state down here at the moment, as you can see. You've been here all weekend.
And thank you ever so much for talking to us, Keith. I understand it's a time where you have to try and help get people get back on their feet. Well, this morning more people will come back to their homes to find out if they're still there and if they'll ever be able to live into them again. The lifeboat crew said to me this morning, it's not a chance of if they'll go into the sea, it's more a case of when.
Oh, that's a real shame for people there, and thank you so much. I mean, it is, we can see the drone shot you've got from there, and it is staggeringly beautiful this morning, but you can really see, get an impression of how much danger these homes are in. Thank you very much indeed. We'll be back with you a little bit later.
See the power of the sea and the wind there as well, can't you? So that's Norfolk for you this morning. We shall be bringing you the news, national headlines from around the UK in just a few moments' time. But still to come for you as well this morning.
And the truth is, I get a little scared now that we're older.
It is 10 years since Alexandra Burke won the X Factor. She's going to join us a little bit later to talk about the happiness and sadness as well of the last few years.
Genuinely can't believe that's 10 years. That's
I know.
It made me feel rather odd. Did she do a winning song with... She did Beyonce, didn't she, in the final of the X Factor? I think she did. I think she sang Listen with Beyonce.
Well, there you go.
Drag that out from the
Well done.
banks.
Time now to get the news, the travel and the weather wherever you're watching us. Headlines here at 7.
Hello there, good morning to you. A man is fighting for his life after being shot as he sat in the back of a taxi in Liverpool. The 40-year-old was targeted whilst in a cab on Maryport Close in Everton just after 8 o'clock last night. He's in a critical condition in hospital this morning. Nobody else was hurt. The emergency services will be at the scene of a huge mill fire in Greater Manchester for the rest of this week. They're working to fully extinguish the blaze, which started on Saturday night. Parts of the Ray Mill building in Staley Bridge have been left unstable by the fire. Roads in the area are still closed. Hundreds of United utility workers are on strike for a second day today as part of a dispute over pensions. Union members also walked out on Friday. The company says it's disappointed by the action, which is affecting around a third of its workforce. Managers say they've already made considerable concessions. Delegates from businesses in Lancashire are travelling to Mexico this week on a trade mission to encourage British exports in the midst of the negotiations over Brexit. The trip's been organised by the county's Chamber of Commerce.
Our intention is to grow the business dramatically over the next few years, and we see the potential of what's happened at the moment in terms of the Brexit process as an opportunity rather than as a threat.
Macclesfield skier Menna Fitzpatrick and her guide Jen Keogh have been celebrating winning a gold medal at the Winter Paralympics in Pyeongchang. They came first in the women's visually impaired slalom and had already won 2 silvers and a bronze in South Korea.
Winning the bronze as well was absolutely amazing. And then from the week that went on, we've just been climbing, and we just enjoyed it. And that's the main thing for us.
Wigan are out of the FA Cup. They lost 2-0 to Southampton. They'd knocked out 3 Premier League teams en route to the quarter-finals, of course, including Manchester City. Now, snow and ice have been affecting many parts of the region over the weekend. Things are due to warm up a bit this week. Let's check on the forecast now with Mel.
Good morning. After the wintry weekend we've just had, you'll be pleased to hear there is something a little more spring-like on the cards as we head through the week. But before we get there, we do have a yellow Met Office warning issued to cater for the risk of ice, and that lasts until 10 o'clock this morning. So it is a chilly start to the day. There is quite a bit of cloud initially, but as we head through the day, we will start to see brighter spells, even sunshine emerge. The winds slightly lighter than they were yesterday, so not feeling quite so cold, but even so, temperatures still in single figures, 7 Celsius the maximum. Heading into the overnight period then, well, we start the night with clear spells, but gradually the cloud will increase. It will be another cold one. Temperatures will be dipping down to freezing, perhaps a little bit lower than that, out into some rural spots. As we head through the day tomorrow, gradually we'll start to see some sunshine once again, and through the week, temperatures recover.
A number of roads are still closed because of the snow, including the Snake Pass, the Cat and Fiddle and the A54 at Buxton. No trains running between Hazelgrove and Buxton at the moment because of the bad weather in that area. And overrunning engineering works mean no trains at the moment between Stockport and Altrincham. You can get replacement buses, though, instead. That's it from me for now. Back with more for you just before 7:30. See you then. Bye-bye.
Hello, a very good morning. You're watching Breakfast with Dan Walker and Louise Minchin.
Just gone 7 o'clock. Heavy snowfall traps drivers for hours overnight on one of the main routes through Devon. More than 80 are sleeping in an emergency shelter.
A 60-mile stretch of the A30 is closed. Yellow ice warnings are in place across much of the country. Sarah Keith-Lucas will have the latest forecast for us.
Good morning. It's Monday, the 19th of March.
Also on the programme today, international weapons inspectors are due in the UK to examine the nerve agent used to poison Russian ex-spy Sergei Skripal.
TV presenter Ant McPartlin is arrested on suspicion of drink driving after a collision involving 3 cars in southwest London.
A significant breakthrough in the treatment of multiple sclerosis as an international trial shows that stem cell transplants can stop the disease.
Good morning. The decline of local newspapers could be fueling the rise of fake news. That's according to the government. I'll be looking at why.
Good morning. In sport, Rory's back. McIlroy wins the Arnold Palmer Invitational, seeing off the challenge of Justin Rose and Tiger Woods with the Masters now just a couple of weeks away.
Pace. It's excellent pace, good lane. And
what a finish. Sarah has the weather for us this morning.
Good morning. It's certainly a cold and an icy start to the day today, but it does look like the cold snap will be easing. So temperatures slowly on the rise over the next few days, looking mostly dry out there today too. So I'll bring you a full forecast in about 15 minutes.
Thank you, Sarah. We'll see you at 7:15.
Very good morning to you. Let's get more on our main story. More than 80 drivers have been stranded overnight in Devon.
This is after a 64-mile stretch of a major road in the southwest of England. That's the A30. As you'll know, if you've ever driven in that part of the world, was shut because of heavy snow. Police say conditions are changing rapidly from passable to impossible, and officers are asking people in Devon and Cornwall to delay travelling until around mid-morning at the earliest today.
Let's get more from our reporter Sarah Ransom, who is in Devon for us this morning. Morning, yes, you're near the rescue centre. Just tell us a little bit of an update. Traffic is now moving. Morning.
Yes, good morning. Yes, well, I'm here in Devon. I'm at the side of the A38 this morning, actually, because it was here yesterday that there were enormous problems just trying to keep this stretch of the A38 clear. Gritters and snowplows were working all day just to keep this bit of road clear, and obviously the hill behind me. But as you were saying, overnight we had those severe weather warnings in place, and overnight there was a tremendous amount of snow. We've had about 3 or 4 centimetres here, but over a very short period of time there was a real snow jump over the high moor at Oakhampton, creating massive problems for numbers of motorists who for a short while were stranded in their cars. Well, with me here from Devon and Cornwall Police is Sergeant Ollie Yates. Now, Sergeant, you've had an update as to what's going on there. How are things looking this morning?
Well, at the moment, the A30 is still closed between Exeter, Junction 31 of the M5 and Launceston, while the recovery operation is ongoing to clear the carriageway of those vehicles that became stranded. We did end up evacuating over 70 people off the A30 into a local rest centre where they're all being looked after by our partner agencies.
So you've got more than 70 there. I guess they're still there at the moment because that road is still closed. Any idea as to when they might be able to get back in their cars and get to where they wanted to be?
At the moment, no, it's a little bit of a movable feast. As you say, it has stopped snowing, so we are working very hard with our partners to get that road cleared, get those vehicles moved and get it in a position where we can reopen it and start getting back to business as usual.
Now, you were here all day yesterday, I know as well. You were looking after this particular stretch. Cars are moving. Clearly cars are moving this morning. We can see them behind you. But I guess once you come off this sort of road, off the A roads, it's still very tricky out there.
Yes, very much so. People shouldn't become complacent. And although the A38 and other primary routes are running fairly freely, as soon as you get off those routes, conditions are treacherous all over this area.
Sergeant Ollie Yates, thank you very much. Ollie Taylor, thank you very much indeed for this morning. Well, the snow may have stopped here, but of course there are problems, as Ollie's just been telling us there. And also, if you've got school children hoping to get into school, please check that your school their school is open, because hundreds have been declared shut this morning. So it's another snow day for some people today.
OK, Sarah, thanks very much. We were speaking to the man who's running that rescue centre, saying they're all there this morning. They're going to provide them with breakfast and hopefully at some stage get them on their way. We'll have a full weather report for you in about 10 minutes' time or so.
Elsewhere this morning, international chemical weapons experts are due to arrive in the UK later today to test the nerve agent used to poison the former Russian spy Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia.
President Putin says claims his country was behind the attack are nonsense, but Boris Johnson claims that Russia has been stockpiling Novichok for years.
Well, Tom Burridge is in Salisbury for us this morning, as we've had a presence there now, Tom, for quite some time. This has been a continually developing story, and again now, as these nerve agent experts come to analyse exactly what this is.
Yeah, that's right, Dan. Morning, everyone. So let's talk about the time frame of this. So this international delegation from this watchdog, the OPCW, will arrive in Wiltshire today. They'll spend a week, we believe, here. Most of that time at the Ministry of Defence's Porton Down research facility. The idea then is that samples of the nerve agent used against Sergei and Yulia Skripal will be sent to as many as 20 different laboratories, independent laboratories in 16 different countries. The key question, I think, is then, can the OPCW, the Organisation for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, go any further than confirming the composition of the nerve agent used and the chemical formula to make it? Can it back up the government's claim that it was, in the government's words, of a type developed in Russia? I think it's worth noting that the OPCW, this international body, a watchdog on banned chemical weapons, is independent. It doesn't like to get drawn into political diplomatic rows, and its independence is vital for its very existence.
Tom, thank you very much for that. And that's something we should be talking about throughout the morning as well. We're speaking to an expert around, what time is that? Is it?
It's just in a few minutes' time, actually.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, oh yes, 7:10. We're nearly there already. Look at that, it's gone quickly this morning.
Official results from Russia show that President Putin has been re-elected with more than 76% of the vote.
But CCTV footage from a number of polling stations appears to show election officials stuffing boxes with ballot papers.
And let's get more from our correspondent Richard Galpin, who's in Moscow, for us this morning. Richard, so he's won, no surprises there. What more information do we have about how the election was carried out?
Well, as you're saying, there have been violations, not massive, I don't think, so far, certainly as far as we've heard. But there's this election monitoring organisation called Golos here, and they are saying there have been hundreds of violations. People have witnessed that, what they call carousel voting, where a group of people are bussed around, taken to different polling stations and vote multiple times in multiple polling stations. There was one case where someone who'd actually died 14 years previously was still on the electoral roll and apparently had voted. And I think perhaps even more seriously, there are lots of allegations that people working for the state and also in private businesses were put under a lot of pressure to go out and vote. And classically, they have to take photographs of themselves at the ballot boxes to prove that they voted. And I think that might have been a significant number of voters.
OK, Richard, I'm sure there'll be more information on that in the coming days. So, Richard, thank you very much.
The television presenter Ant McPartlin has been arrested on suspicion of drink driving. It's on the front page of many of the papers this morning for you. We'll show you the front page of The Sun here. Boozy star nicked over 3-car smash. And this is the front page of The Mirror. Similar pictures here. Ant held by police after drink drive crash. Metropolitan Police have confirmed they arrested a 42-year-old man at the scene. We can get a bit more detail from Andy Moore, our correspondent in our London newsroom for you this morning. Andy, good morning to you. As we say, it's on the front page of many of the papers this morning, and there's not that much more detail that we actually know about the case so far.
No, I mean, you can see from some of those pictures that Ant McPartlin's black Mini came to rest bumper to bumper against another car. He was reportedly travelling with his mother out walking their dogs. Scotland Yard say a 42-year-old man was arrested on suspicion of drink driving after failing a roadside breath test. That man was taken to a South London police station for further questioning. The fire brigade and the ambulance service were called to this incident. A number of people were treated for minor injuries. A child was taken to hospital for a checkup as a precaution. Now, Ant McPartlin's personal problems are well documented. He went into rehab last year, and also earlier this year he announced he was separating from his wife, Lisa Armstrong, his wife of 11 years. Dan.
Andy, thank you very much for that.
In other news this morning, scientists have announced a significant breakthrough in the treatment of multiple sclerosis. Results from a decade-long international trial have shown a stem cell transplant can halt the disease and improve symptoms. The disabling condition affects about 100,000 people in the UK. Doctors in Sheffield who are part of the study say the new treatment is a game changer for many patients.
11 minutes past 7, it's Monday the 19th of March. Good morning, watching Breakfast from the BBC. And let's return to one of our main stories this morning, because inspectors from the Organisation for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons will arrive in the UK later today.
They'll carry out tests on the nerve agent which was used in an attack on a former Russian spy and his daughter earlier this month. We've been talking about it, haven't we, for quite some time now. A chemical weapons expert, Hamish de Bretton Gordon, is in Salisbury for us this morning. Thanks again for joining us here on BBC Breakfast. Just give us your assessment of you. What are their priorities when they arrive here, this Organisation for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons?
Well, the key thing about the OPCW is that they are the independent investigators of the United Nations. So it's critical they'll get here, no doubt go to Porton Down first for a briefing, because Porton Down will be providing them with the samples that they've collected from around Salisbury from this attack. They'll want to come and visit the locations of where these attacks happened, and they'll do a detailed investigation really in parallel with what both Porton Down and the police have done here. And of course, they then need to verify those results. This is going to take some time, I expect. But most critical to this, they also need to get to Russia, to Sakhaney, where these Novichoks originate from and are made, because until they can cross-match with a Russian sample, it's going to be very difficult for the UN to fully attribute. I mean, I personally have absolutely no doubt that these Novichoks are Russian, came from Sakhaney. That's the only place in the world they're made. But President Putin needs to allow them into Russia. He has signed the Chemical Weapons Convention, which says that he will do it, and we'll now see if he's good to his word.
Yes, I wanted to pick you up on that point. What are the chances that them being allowed to do that, to go to Russia, do you think?
Well, again, it's do we trust the Russians? In a lot of cases recently, perhaps we don't. But President Putin has signed the Chemical Weapons Convention, and he is under remit to allow the OPCW to go to Russia. And quite frankly, if he is as innocent as he claims, the only way of proving that is to get the OPCW to investigate Sakhaney, where the Novichoks are made. And it was only a few days ago that the Russian minister admitted in Moscow that Russia hadn't Novichoks and made them. We know they're only made in Sakhaney. They were made there in the 70s, 80s and 90s. And also we have suggestions from the Foreign Secretary yesterday that not only are made there, but also stockpile there.
OK, it's interesting, isn't it? Because the ambassador was on the Andrew Marr show yesterday denying all Russian involvement as well. So there's a sort of diplomatic row going on. Just tell us about that. We've talked before here on Breakfast about the substance itself. A week on from when we last talked, how do you think they came into contact with it? Is there any more information, do you think?
Well, there is lots. Just let me take you up on the ambassador's comments yesterday. They were pretty ridiculous, but classic Russian, what we call plausible deniability, trying to put doubt in the air. As far as the Novichok itself, Porton Down will have done a very detailed research here. What we don't know yet is whether it was a powder or a liquid, how it was administered. I'm sort of erring towards a liquid because had it been a powder and they breathed it in, as some stories are saying, through car ventilations, they would have died almost instantaneously. It seems that it is more likely that the Novichok has absorbed through their skin and therefore taken much longer to act on their nerves, because if you breathe it in, it goes straight to your blood virtually. So there are still a lot of unanswered questions, and the fact that the two or the three are still alive gives great hope that they will make some sort of recovery. But still a lot of unanswered questions, and I'm sure also the police and Porton Down are telling us as much as we need to know, but would want to verify and pass that information on to the OPCW before they give out the full details of this. And as has already been said, don't expect results quickly from the OPCW. They're very deliberate and they will take time. They won't apportion blame as such. That'll be up to the UN to do that, hopefully in a timely fashion, but we're talking weeks, not days.
Hey, Mr. Breton-Gordon, a chemical weapons expert, thank you very much indeed again for your time here on Breakfast. Thank you.
It's 16 minutes past 7. Let's bring you up to date with the main stories this morning on BBC Breakfast. And heavy snow in Devon leaves drivers stranded in their cars for hours overnight. 80 others are being camped out in an emergency shelter. They're camping out in an emergency shelter.
International experts, as we've just been hearing, are due in the UK today to assess the type of nerve agent used to poison a former spy and his daughter in Salisbury.
We showed you some pictures from Norfolk earlier where
it's really
the cliffs are eroding, but there was a drone shot. It looked beautiful there, didn't it? With glorious sunshine, blue skies, very windy and very cold. Sarah is in London for us this morning. It's a little murkier there, Sarah, but what's the weather picture like for the rest of the UK today?
Yeah, good morning to you, Dan and Louise. Well, it's certainly a cold start, really, wherever you are first thing this morning. Temperatures well below freezing. We have got quite a lot of cloud around across parts of southern England at the moment, but for much of the country, there's blue skies from the word go, and that's how it's going to be looking through the day. So although we have got a drier day on the cards, the weather is still causing some disruption with all that lying snow and a lot of ice around today as well. But you will be pleased to hear that through the course of this week, things are starting to turn a little bit less cold. So temperatures slowly on the rise after that cold, icy start. Quite a lot of dry weather on the cards, but later on in the week, we will start to see the snow replaced by a little bit of rain coming in as well. But certainly today, for much of the country, it is a dry, icy, frosty start to the day. We've got 1 or 2 snow flurries just continuing in the far south of England, down towards the Channel Isles too, but most other places look dry to start the day, and we will see plenty of sunshine breaking through. Not everywhere, there are some slightly cloudier areas. But across England and Wales this afternoon, it's much drier day for the southwest. Certainly we've lost all that heavy snow that we had yesterday and overnight. Wales and northern England also seeing lots of sunshine today. A little bit more cloud edging in for the northeast of England. Eastern Scotland could bring an isolated snow flurry, but for the west of Scotland and for Northern Ireland should feel quite pleasant. In fact, we could see temperatures here up to around 8 degrees with light winds too, so that should feel pretty comfortable out there. But elsewhere it is a cold day, particularly where you've got the wind chill with that northeasterly breeze across England and Wales. Temperatures today for most of us only between around 3 to 7 Celsius, still chilly certainly for the time of year. And then on into the evening hours and tonight, we'll see a little bit more cloud just drifting in from the east across England and Wales. Still some clear spells, but the clearest of the skies will be for Scotland and for Northern Ireland. And with the light winds here, we're likely to see temperatures down to around -5 degrees, for instance, through the central belt of Scotland. Not quite as cold further south across the country, but still some icy stretches, and also the chance of seeing some freezing fog patches on Tuesday as well, particularly in the west. Now through the day on Tuesday, we'll keep a bit more cloud across eastern England, perhaps 1 or 2 rain showers for the likes of Lincolnshire down towards Sussex too. But for the rest of the country, it is looking like another dry day. High pressure in charge. Lots of sunshine on the cards, but not doing too much to lift those temperatures. So still at best around about 6 to perhaps 8 degrees or so during the day on Tuesday. Certainly not as cold as it was through the weekend. And then Tuesday evening and then overnight into Wednesday, the cloud clears from the southeast, but then more cloud rolls in from the northwest, and that's a weather front. It'll bring some outbreaks of rain to Scotland and to Northern Ireland. So through the day on Wednesday, we will keep that northwest southeast split to the weather. A little bit more patchy rain for Scotland and for Northern Ireland. England and Wales staying mostly dry, with the best of the sunshine in the south and the east. Now by Wednesday, 1 or 2 places just starting to creep into double figures. So that is a sign of things to come through this week. It looks like things will gradually turn milder, but certainly still cold and icy out there today. Back to you both.
It really is. And thank you very much indeed, Sarah. Thank you.
Let's have a look at some of the papers for you this morning. Front page of the Times have got Vladimir Putin in a coat, which is the sort of thing you should be wearing this morning in the United Kingdom. This is him celebrating winning another election, another 6 years of Vladimir Putin in Russia. Over 75%. This was confirmed last night around about 9 o'clock. The final details, and the watchdog backs away from tough betting curbs, gambling proposals offer a boost to bookmakers. This is something we'll be speaking to with the Gambling Commission a little bit later on this morning.
A quick through some of the other ones. And McPartlin makes lots of the tabloids this morning after this incident involving some cars at the weekend. So that's front page of the Mirror. He's also in the Sun as well, and also the Express too.
Front page of the Guardian as well. Pressure grows on Facebook and data firm over mass breach of personal files. This is about the Cambridge Analytica files, which the suspicion is they may well have been used to help in the election, in the US president election of 2016. And again, Vladimir Putin on the front page of The Guardian this morning too.
The Facebook story is a different take on that. It's front page of the Daily Telegraph as well. And they've got some snow pictures too.
Did you do the front page of the Mail?
No.
No. OK, and the front page of the Daily Mail this morning, expose toll of plastic we eat and breathe. The Mail probe finds airborne plastic particles in every sample of shop-bought fish that they tested.
I noticed something in the papers at the weekend, and I want to know whether this is actually going to happen or not. That you and somebody else on another channel, that I won't mention their name,
right,
might be doing Strictly Come Dancing.
No, when they read a story and it says a TV source.
Yeah.
That TV source is normally the fella with the big mouth.
Oh, right, OK. Well, what we've done here is we just in case you were considering, we just thought we'd just see how you might, the two of you might look together.
Oh, very nice. Well, he does look fetching, doesn't he?
Anyway, so is it denial at the moment? Is it that might be...
It's not just a flat denial. It's very much not going to happen. Although if I did do it, I would beat him. So.
Dan, that goes without saying.
Of course.
Anyway, it's 22 minutes past 7. You're watching Breakfast Morning. Thanks for joining us.
Let's bring you up to date with some other news this morning. And the use of a breakthrough drug, which is the first to tackle the root cause of cystic fibrosis, will be debated by MPs later today.
Yes, it's called Orkambi. It's available in several countries, including Ireland, Germany and the US. But it's not used on the NHS because it costs £100,000 per patient per year. Breakfast Graham Satchell has more.
Right, jump on. Let's go.
Lucy is doing a special workout to help her condition. She has cystic fibrosis, an inherited illness that affects her lungs and digestive system.
I do all I can at the moment to try and sort of keep alive longer. It's a bit sad in a way that, like, all my friends don't have to worry about this, and when I exercise and that, I'm doing it to stay alive rather than for fun.
You got this, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Good.
Lucy's attempting a new personal best to lift 120% of her body weight.
Drive, 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 drive. Nice.
Cystic fibrosis is a devastating illness. Half the people who have it will die by the age of 31. Lucy takes a small mountain of antibiotics to try and stop infections. But there's a new drug called Orkambi. It's the first treatment that tackles the root cause of cystic fibrosis. It costs £100,000 per patient per year. And NICE says it's too expensive for the NHS.
People with CF can just pick up a bacteria and can be really, really poorly. So, yeah, knowing there's a drug out there that would help all that, yeah, it is more than frustrating, it's heartbreaking.
Dublin in Ireland, 14-year-old Bennett also takes a lot of antibiotics. The Irish government approved the use of Orkambi last year. It's made a huge difference to Bennett's condition.
Well, it's done a lot, so it's improved my weight, my height, my lung function, my overall health, my energy. So it's really impacted in a good way.
Yeah, you feel better, do you?
Yeah, I feel a lot better, more energetic than before I started taking Orkambi.
Campaigners say Orkambi will save money in the long run by reducing expensive hospital admissions. But the deal done in Ireland with Vertex, who make Orkambi, was controversial. It'll cost the Irish Health Service almost €400 million over 5 years.
It's a lot of money, but, you know, can you put a price on anyone's life, especially your child's life? And also for quality of life, you know, you can't put any price on that.
The issue here is that this amount of money could be spent elsewhere for other products and services. If you consider the available patient population that would be using this kind of treatment, which is around 3,000 patients, if you multiply 3,000 patients by £100,000 per year, this is around £300 million per year for NHS.
Back in Preston, Lucy and her mum are about to do physio. It takes an hour, twice a day, to clear Lucy's lungs. NHS England say unless the drug company reviews its price, a deal is unlikely. Vertex told us they're dismayed by NHS England's approach but want further dialogue. And what about the thousands of patients like Lucy?
It shouldn't be where you live, it should be what you've got. People in the UK might die, or it might be too late because of like a funding issue. It's not really fair.
MPs will discuss access to Orkambi at Westminster today. But while the arguments go on, Lucy's condition continues to get worse. Graham Satchell, BBC News.
Well, it really gives you a sense of trying to live with that with Lucy and her mum. And if you want to get in touch on social media and with your thoughts on all of that, please do. We'd love to hear from you on BBC Breakfast.
Yeah, and we'll be putting that report up on our social media channels as well. So if you'd like to see it again, you can find it on Facebook and on Twitter as well. You're watching Breakfast from the BBC. Still to come for you this morning. High winds and coastal erosion has meant these homes in Norfolk-on-the-Cliff there are in danger of falling into the sea. We shall be live in Hemsby a little later in the programme.
And you can see why you want to live there. It's just absolutely stunning this morning in that beautiful light. Time now to get the news, the travel and the weather wherever you're watching us back here in just a couple of minutes.
Hello there, good morning to you. A man is fighting for his life after being shot as he sat in the back of a taxi in Liverpool. The 40-year-old was targeted whilst in a cab on Maryport Close in Everton just after 8 o'clock last night. He's now in a critical condition in hospital. Nobody else was injured. The emergency services will be at the scene of a huge mill fire in Greater Manchester for the rest of this week. They're working to fully extinguish the blaze in Staley Bridge, which started on Saturday night. Parts of the Ray Mill building have been left unstable by the fire. Roads in the area are still closed. Up to 40 survivors who were most seriously injured in the Manchester Arena bombing are to get treatment from a world-class facility used by athletes and other sports stars. The We Love Manchester Emergency Fund's releasing another £300,000 to help those with life-changing injuries. They'll get rehabilitation treatment at a specialist sports facility based in East Manchester. Hundreds of United Utilities workers are on strike for a second day today as part of a dispute over pensions. Union members also walked out on Friday. The company says it's disappointed by the action, which is affecting around a third of its workforce. Managers say they have already made considerable concessions. Delegates from businesses in Lancashire are travelling to Mexico this week on a trade mission to encourage British exports in the midst of negotiations over Brexit. The trip's been organised by the county's Chamber of Commerce.
Our intention is to grow the business dramatically over the next few years, and we see the potential of what's happened at the moment in terms of the Brexit process as an opportunity rather than as a threat.
Macclesfield skier Menna Fitzpatrick and her guide Jenkier have been celebrating winning a gold medal at the Winter Paralympics in Pyeongchang. They came first in the women's visually impaired slalom, having already won 2 silvers and a bronze in South Korea. Now, snow and ice affected many parts of the region over the weekend. Things are due to warm up a bit this week. Let's check on the forecast now with Mel.
Good morning. After the wintry weekend we've just had, you'll be pleased to hear there is something a little more spring-like on the cards as we head through the week. But before we get there, we do have a yellow Met Office warning issued to cater for the risk of ice, and that lasts until 10 o'clock this morning. So it is a chilly start to the day. There is quite a bit of cloud initially, but as we head through the day, we will start to see brighter spells, even sunshine emerge. The winds slightly lighter than they were yesterday, so not feeling quite so cold, but even so, temperatures still in single figures, 7 Celsius the maximum. Heading into the overnight period then, well, we start the night with clear spells, but gradually the cloud will increase. It will be another cold one. Temperatures will be dipping down to freezing, perhaps a little bit lower than that, out into some rural spots. As we head through the day tomorrow, gradually we'll start to see some sunshine once again, and through the week, temperatures recover.
Now, a number of roads still closed because of snow, including the Snake Pass, the Cat and Fiddle and the A54 at Buxton. Elsewhere, no trains between Hazel Grove and Buxton because of the bad weather in that area. Engineering works means no trains at the moment between Stockport and Altrincham, and there are minor delays to the Ashton and Eccles lines of the Metrolink at the moment this morning. That's it for now. Back with more in half an hour. Bye-bye.
Hello, welcome back. You're watching Breakfast with Dan and Louise.
It's 7:30. Here's a summary of this morning's main stories from BBC News. More than 80 drivers have been stranded overnight in Devon.
It's after a 64-mile stretch of a major road in southwest England. The A30 was shut because of heavy snow. Police officers and Highways England have been trying to clear the snow from the road, and Devon and Cornwall Police have been keeping their Twitter followers up to date on the disruption all morning, especially over the problems with the A30.
They say that if you're already on it, drive with caution as conditions are variable, changing rapidly from passable to impossible, and that those who haven't yet set off, they're asking to delay the journey until mid-morning at the earliest.
This morning they reported that road traffic accidents are starting to be reported to them by those insisting on driving this morning. They're also warning as well that parts of the M5 is icy and advise drivers to delay their journey and to slow down. We'll have a full weather report for you in about 10 minutes' time.
Elsewhere in the main stories, international chemical weapons experts are due to arrive in the UK later today to test the nerve agent used to poison the former Russian spy Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia. President Putin says claims his country was behind the attack are nonsense, but Boris Johnson says Russia has been stockpiling Novichok for years. Test results could be seen in around 2 weeks' time.
Official results from Russia show that President Putin has been re-elected with more than 76% of the vote. He told a victory rally that Russia must maintain unity following his landslide win. But CCTV footage from a number of polling stations appears to show election officials stuffing boxes with ballot papers.
The television presenter Ant McPartlin has been arrested on suspicion of drink driving. Police say they were called to reports of a collision involving 3 cars in southwest London yesterday afternoon. A child passenger in one of them was taken to hospital as a precaution. In a statement, Scotland Yard said a 42-year-old man was arrested at the scene after failing a breathalyser test.
A British woman's been killed in northern Syria fighting alongside Kurdish forces. It's understood that Anna Campbell, who was 26 and from Lewes in East Sussex, died in the town of Afrin, which has been the target of a Turkish offensive. Her father's told the BBC she was idealistic and knew that she was putting her life at risk.
Scientists have announced a significant breakthrough in the treatment of multiple sclerosis. Results from a decade-long international trial have shown a stem cell transplant can halt the disease and improve symptoms. The disabling condition affects around 100,000 people in the UK. Doctors in Sheffield, who were part of the study, say the new treatment is a game changer for many patients.
You are watching Breakfast. We'll have an update on the weather in about 10 minutes' time or so, because it's still causing problems for people. Snow.
Yeah, and as we were saying, if you're just turning on your television, police in the southwest of England this morning are saying that if you need to go out, please do take care and slow down. But if you can possibly delay your journey, say sort of mid-morning is the best time to go, isn't it? A little bit later on today. In the sport today, Rory is very much the story, isn't he, Kat?
Rory the story, very nice. Have you been working on that all morning?
At least 10 seconds, actually.
Well done, that worked very well indeed. It's been a while since we saw Rory celebrating like that, isn't it? I think he's tweeted this morning, he must have been counting the days himself, 539 days, I think it is, since his last victory on the tour, which was when was that? September 2016. And I've been looking at the odds for the Masters now. He's now the favourite to win the green jacket. Yeah, then there's Dustin Johnson behind him. Tiger Woods is third favourite.
It's all great for the game, isn't it? It's great.
Brilliant. Justin Rose in the mix, Henrik Stenson, you know, all the big names you'd expect to be in there at the Arnold Palmer. That leaderboard looked very tasty indeed, didn't it? Let's have a look at how Rory McIlroy closed off the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Then the Northern Irishman hit 5 birdies in the last 6 holes to finish on 18 under par, 3 shots clear of the rest of the field. This is the putt that won it for him. Tiger Woods' rejuvenation continued as well. The 14-time major winner tied for 5th, 8 behind McIlroy.
All these little barriers that you have to overcome, whether it be physical or mental, it's huge for my confidence going into the next few weeks. And I kept saying I didn't need a win going into Augusta to feel like I had a chance. I just wanted to see signs of good golf, and thankfully I've been able to get both today.
Plenty of good golf, and another Brit showing back to form was Laura Davis, finished tied for 2nd at the Founders Cup in Phoenix. Her best finish on the LPGA Tour since 2007. She said maybe now people will stop asking her when she'll retire. 54, Laura Davis. Chelsea will face Southampton in the semi-finals of the FA Cup, coming through 2-1 against Leicester after extra time. It was Pedro's goal that sealed Chelsea's spot in the final for their 10th FA Cup semi-final in 18 years. Not a bad record. And their only realistic chance of winning a trophy this season.
For sure, if you are able to win a trophy, it's important. It's important for a team like Chelsea. But at the same time, I repeat, the most important thing is for us and to fight until the end for every competition.
Mark Hughes had a good first game in charge of Southampton because they beat League One side Wigan 2-0 to reach the semi-finals as well. Defender Cedric Suarez scored their 2nd in stoppage time. Celtic were held to a goalless draw by 10-man Motherwell, but they still extended their lead at the top of the Scottish Premiership to 10 points. Patrick Roberts went closest for Celtic. With this effort, he clipped the crossbar. Great strike, but they came no closer than that. Motherwell held on for the point despite being a man down. In tennis, Roger Federer's incredible run at the start of this year has finally come to an end. He was beaten at Indian Wells by Juan Martín del Potro in the final. It's the Argentine's 2nd tournament win in a row. The former US Open champion had to save 3 match points before, as you can see, eventually becoming the first person this year to beat the world number 1. Naomi Osaka won the women's competition. Ireland's Six Nations Grand Slam winning team celebrated their success in Dublin yesterday. The following images, though, do contain flash photography, so watch out here. The Irish team were supposed to be attending a Grand Slam celebration event at the Aviva Stadium, but it was cancelled because of all the bad weather. Instead, fans got to see the players showing off the trophy outside the team's hotel. On the pitch, and a rather muddy one at that, Scotland finished their Women's Six Nations campaign in 5th place after being well beaten by Italy in Padova. So muddy, that pitch. Italy won by 26 points to 12, with Beatrice Rigoni crossing to secure their bonus point. France clinched their 5th Grand Slam win with Friday's thumping of Wales. Britain's Paralympians returning from South Korea after hitting their medals target, with all 7 podium finishes won by just 2 women. Millie Knight and Menna Fitzpatrick excelled in skiing, prompting questions about the breadth and depth of the British team. Kate Gray reports from Pyeongchang.
The past 10 days has seen the British team push to their limits on the snow and ice in Pyeongchang. Disappointment for the curlers as they came up short and the snowboarders faltered. But on the ski slopes, it was a different story, with Menna Fitzpatrick and her guide Jen Kehoe winning 4 medals, including gold on the final day, to become Britain's most successful Winter Paralympians.
It's been amazing. It's been an incredible event. Everyone's been really helpful, really lovely. It's really nice to have family and friends here supporting us.
The resilience that the athletes have shown, and certainly Menna and Jen, from a DNF in race 1 to gold in race 5, and I think the preparation and the ability for them to deliver those kind of performances is down to talent, but also the support behind the scenes.
Great Britain had a target of 6 to 12 medals here in Pyeongchang, aiming to equal and with the ambition to improve on their performance from 4 years ago, where they won 6 medals and an historic gold. And with British athletes competing across more sports than ever before at a Winter Games, the target seemed achievable.
And it was, thanks to 1 sport, 1 classification and a small number of athletes winning all 7 medals. But it does call into question the breadth and depth of the British team.
I'm proud of every single one of the 17 athletes that came here to Pyeongchang to represent Paralympics GB. Yes, the medals came from snow, but every one of those athletes did give it their all.
So the Games drew to a fitting close, with Britain's Golden Girls carrying the flag. The International Paralympic Committee could also celebrate, with more nations taking part than ever before and a record number of tickets sold. They can now call these Games the greatest Winter Paralympics to date. Kate Gray, BBC News, Pyeongchang.
So that's the Winter Games over. Finally, shall we watch Andy Murray getting a rude awakening again? Because we've been enjoying these pictures, haven't we? So this is all for Sport Relief, and it's Michael McIntyre creeping into Andy. That is the former world #1, fast asleep in bed at St George's Park, I think, where he's doing some rehab and training before returning to tennis with his injury. Ready for it?
Andy! Welcome to the Sport
This is 1
Relief
o'clock in the
Midnight
morning.
Game Show!
And poor Andy Murray's face, look at that, there's all kinds of bleeping and expletives, as you'd expect from Andy Murray. Just loving this.
I almost can't think of anything worse.
He deals with it very well, because it upturns Peppa Pig for some reason.
Well, he's doing a game show. So he's got to wake up at 1 in the morning, surprised by finding Michael McIntyre in your bedroom, and then on top of that, you've got to answer game show questions. It's one of the things that Michael McIntyre does on his show, just bursts into people's bedrooms, and it's normally just unsuspecting members of the public. But for Sport Relief, it's Andy Murray.
So it's a full thing on Friday, I take
The full thing, you'll see how Andy Murray gets on with his kind of midnight game show on Friday, as well as all the other fun of Sport Relief. Yeah, but that's brilliant. I'm really enjoying that.
I love that he went from fast asleep to being amused in a record. I mean, brilliant.
He looks a bit like Dan looks when Dan comes in the mornings, doesn't he?
Well, don't give my secrets away. Yeah. I switched the brain on about 3 seconds before 6 o'clock. The hair was a right old mess this morning.
Oh, good on him. Sport Relief continues throughout this week. Let's get more right now on our top story this morning. 80 motorists we know have been stranded overnight in Devon.
Yeah, police have warned people living in the county not to travel until mid-morning at the earliest today. We can go to Holden Hill in Devon. Sarah Ransom is there for us this morning. Well, you can see the depth of the snow there, Sarah. Morning to you. How are things?
Yeah, well, it's really cold here this morning, as you might imagine. Some of those weather warnings are still in place. And as you say, I'm here at the bottom of Holden Hill, the scene yesterday of frantic gritting and snow ploughing as the emergency plan was put into place, trying to keep this road clear. You might be able to see behind me some of those gritters are out again this morning on the gantry or on the bridge over there, just trying to keep things moving. Now overnight we had such a lot of snow. I'm just going to walk over here a minute just to give you some idea. Inches and inches of it fell here at this part of Devon, and actually further away, about 30 miles from where I am now, you were talking about those motorists who were stranded on the A30. They had an even bigger dump of snow to contend with there, which made life very difficult for some of them there. They had to move to an emergency centre overnight. Blizzard conditions, 70 or so there now, probably waking up, hopefully having a nice cup of tea. That road is still shut and is unlikely to be open for a couple of hours between Exeter and Launceston. Nobody had to stay in their vehicles overnight, but they were moved to that rest centre. Earlier I spoke to one of the gentlemen who's been involved in keeping the roads in Devon open. He was telling me the latest. It's Sergeant Ollie Taylor from Devon and Cornwall Police.
People shouldn't become complacent, and although the A38 and other primary routes are running fairly freely, as soon as you get off those routes, conditions are treacherous all over this area.
Now, as you can hear there, he was saying the routes are treacherous. He was telling me as well that once you get off these A roads, you are really it's really difficult to get around. One thing as well others are keen to point out is that if you've got school children and they're thinking about going to school this morning, you might want to just check, because hundreds of schools here in Devon and in Cornwall and in parts of Wales are closed. So it's another snow day for some of them.
Sarah, thank you very much indeed. And you can see why the snow would be causing problems with the depth. Thank you very much. Thanks, Sarah.
Let's have a look at what it looks like elsewhere this morning. We've got some cameras around the UK for you. This is Hull. Actually, looks like a beautiful morning in Hull.
A little bit of snow on the rooftops, but yep, lovely. We're going to go to Glasgow now, and I think somewhere, though I can't really see it, yes you can, in the far distance you can see snow on the hills.
Okay, well, you've got good eyes. No sign of the white stuff in Belfast. Lovely clear blue skies this morning, which is what it looked like when we had the shots from Norfolk as well earlier, didn't we?
We'll just have the weather in a second, but we've got reports that there was a married couple just got married and they had to spend the night, didn't they, in the rescue centre?
Yeah, they had their wedding reception, I think, on might have been Saturday? Anyway, Saturday night, and they were trying to get to Watergate Bay in Cornwall for their honeymoon, and nobody knew it was snowing. And then they couldn't get this.
So
they had their honeymoon night in
the rescue centre.
On the wooden floor in the rescue centre in Oakhampton.
We might speak to them later.
Yeah, hopefully we're going to speak to them about 8:10 this morning. They are. Congratulations to newlyweds John and Sarah Lund.
Should we catch up with Sarah and find out what the weather is like for them, for everyone else as well? Morning. Oh, look, a snowball.
Ready?
I've got a snowball. Yeah, good morning to you, Dan and Louise. Yeah, quite good for snowballs. It's really soft, fluffy, powdery snow that we've got across many parts of the country. So apparently it's not the best type of snow for making snowmen and igloos, but it is good for snowballs and it is good for skiing on as well. So if you have been out there enjoying some of that snow, still got a lot of lying snow out today, but of course it's causing quite a lot of disruption too, particularly across parts of the southwest of England as well. That's where we've had about 20 centimetres of snow over the past 24 hours or so. Now today will be a drier day across the country, and gradually through this week the weather is set to turn a little bit milder. So temperatures eventually will be on the rise, and after that largely dry start there will be a bit of rain on the way later on in the week. But for this morning then, most parts of the country start the day on a dry but bitterly cold note with a sharp frost and some icy stretches too. More cloud across the far south of England and a few snow flurries this morning down towards the Channel Isles too, but most other places look dry. A lot of blue sky, a lot of sunshine, but it is still feeling cold, particularly across England and Wales. We've got quite a biting northeasterly breeze around here. So for the southwest of England and Wales then, we've lost all that heavy snow that we had yesterday and overnight, so it's drier, but some of the snow will tend to thaw and then refreeze overnight. Now, Scotland and Northern Ireland having a pretty decent sort of day. In fact, with the lighter winds, it will feel pleasant enough in the sunshine, although temperatures still not great for the time of year. Only between around 3 to 7 Celsius for most of us today, and it'll feel colder than that, particularly across England and Wales, where you've got that northeasterly winds. It's less windy though further north into Scotland and Northern Ireland. Now, overnight, we see a little bit more cloud filtering in, particularly towards the east. So for eastern England, not quite as cold under that cloud, but further north and west, still clear skies and light winds too. So overnight, we could see those temperatures once again sub-zero for many of us, perhaps -5 degrees or so through the central belt of Scotland. So first thing Tuesday morning, we are expecting once again a really sharp frost, lots of ice around, still some lying snow as well, and perhaps some freezing fog patches here and there too. Through the day on Tuesday, a little bit more cloud across some eastern parts of England, and that could bring 1 or 2 rain showers to parts of Lincolnshire, down towards Sussex as well, but they'll be pretty hit and miss, and actually much of the country having another dry day with high pressure in charge. Plenty of sunshine, a decent day for Wales, northwest England, western Scotland as well. Still on the chilly side, but certainly not as cold as it was through the weekend. So we're likely to see 8 degrees or so during the day on Tuesday. Then we've got more cloud working in from the northwest through Tuesday night. That's ahead of a weather front moving in. So it is set to bring a bit of patchy rain to Northern Ireland and to Scotland too through Tuesday night and on through the day on Wednesday as well. It does look like England and Wales should stay largely dry on Wednesday, with the best of the sunshine probably towards the south and the east. So for most of us, temperatures by Wednesday 8 or 9 degrees, but we could just about see double figures just pushing in through the day on Wednesday. So that is a sign of things to come. It is turning a bit milder through this week, but the snow that we've got out there is not going to melt in a hurry, particularly where we've had about 20 centimetres towards the southwest. Back to you both.
Thank you very much for that, Sarah. So good news, even if it's a few travel issues, it's good snow for snowballs.
I love that. Thank you, Sarah, for doing that analysis of the snow as well. It's good. There are concerns that the decline of local newspapers could be fueling the rise of fake news. Steph has been having a look at why.
Yes, morning to you both. So this is all to do with the fact that, you know, the newspaper industry has been in decline, particularly for local papers. We're not buying as many of them, and since 2005, 200 local papers have closed. So there's concern about who's filling that gap, because people still want local news. So the government have launched a review to look at how the industry is coping with the decline and whether it is the cause of fake news. So this is something that I've been looking into. I went back to the Coventry Evening Telegraph.
By 3:30, nearly 100,000 copies of the paper have been printed.
For over 100 years, the Coventry Evening Telegraph has been a trusted source of news in this city. And only once in that time have its presses stopped rolling, when it was hit by the Blitz in 1940. At its peak, it had 600 staff and sold 130,000 copies every day. But things are different now.
In the last 12 years, about 200 local papers have closed, and the reason is simple. They're not making as much money from advertising. So back in 2007, about £3 billion was coming into local papers from ads. By last year, that was under 700 million.
The thing is, advertisers are still spending, it's just going elsewhere.
A lot of that money is going online, but it's not going online to online newspapers. It's generally going to big classified specialist sites like Rightmove or Autotrader. It's also going to Google search, and in the last couple of years, it's been going to Facebook big time.
So this is one of the old presses. It was state-of-the-art when it was installed.
The editor of the Coventry Telegraph says although newspaper sales were down by a fifth last year, more people than ever are reading the work of its reporters.
We can see how the presses were used in the past. Obviously, all this kit's redundant now, but the paper certainly isn't, is it? There's so much innovation going on.
No. So we still publish 3 editions a day, 6 days a week, but also our website is absolutely thriving. We reach a bigger audience now across print and digital than we have done in decades. The nostalgia's great, but the world's changed, we've changed with it. My reporters are as adept at doing a Facebook Live as they are at writing 400 words of copy.
This paper has moved on. But does it matter if others close? Well, the government is worried the decline of local newspapers could be fueling the rise of fake news and has launched a review of the industry. A recent study by King's College London found people in areas with no local daily paper were less engaged in local elections. and had less trust in local institutions. So how do the people of Coventry get their local news?
Do you ever buy a local newspaper?
No, because it's really easier to access everything that is going on and, you know, cross-checking everything at the same time via my phone.
We have the local Telegraph delivered every day.
If we need to find anything, it's Google. Coventry Telegraph comes straight on the app and it's news rather than having to look at all the adverts.
People still want local news, but with the papers facing a fierce battle for our attention online, can they find the audience and the advertisers they need to make it pay? Well, if they can't, there's a chance we'll all be poorer for it.
What a van.
I know,
What
it's a
van.
brilliant van, that,
Love
isn't
that
it?
footage.
I love that van. But yeah, I think what's important to point out is that, like the Coventry Telegraph, there are lots of local papers who are still doing a lot online. So if you look at, for example, the Manchester Evening News, they sell around 40,000 copies a day physically of the paper. But they have about 1 million people who go online on the website. But it's important that the local papers try and find a way of making money from that, because that's the issue, so that they can keep funding the local journalists. Because people still want local news, of course they do.
It's a great training ground.
Change
as
of
well,
foot.
isn't it?
Yeah. Thanks, Dev.
Residents of 13 seaside chalets, which are teetering on the edge of the cliffs in Norfolk, have been evacuated from their homes over the weekend. That's because parts of the coastline, and it's sand cliffs, isn't it, which is why they erode so quickly, have given way because of high winds and waves over the weekend.
Well, our reporter there for us is Robbie West. Morning to you, and you can really get a sense of the power of the waves from where you are, Robbie. Morning.
You can, Louise, and even more of the cliffs overnight have disappeared. Residents here are really worried that at any moment their homes could plunge into the ocean. If you have a little look behind me, you can really see what a fortnight of strong winds, torrential rain and rough seas have done to this coastline. They've washed away a lot of the natural defences that were here. I've been here all weekend and the winds have reached 49 miles per hour and the waves over 3 metres high. I've spent the weekend here chatting to people, seeing the evacuation efforts from the locals and the emergency services.
Over the weekend, as the tide was drawing in, lifeboat crews helped move people's furniture out. Stephen Chadwick knew he had to go after seeing his garden disappear overnight.
Yeah, just bought it for sea views, beautiful sea views, and now the sea's taking it away. Woke up this morning, had a cup of coffee at 7:30 at the back door, and I felt it's like a earthquake, and the cliff just went. It's just in total shock, and watching people taking my house apart. I don't think I'll be here tomorrow.
Homeowners were evacuated following a fortnight of high tides and easterly winds that had washed the coast's natural defences away. The next morning, the damage could be seen. The council say 13 homes remain in a precarious position and are being inspected after each high tide.
These properties probably won't be lived in again. The damage caused there, I was up there, as I say, Friday, and then Saturday, the dune what was there was about 6 metre dune, that is actually gone.
Paul Ray joined the lifeboat crews after seeing his home. He believes it's unsafe for his wife and 2 dogs to return to the house that they have lived in for the past 8 years.
To look at it, I think to myself, that's my home and I've lost it. But I've got to look on the positive side that I wasn't in there last night and we lost our lives and everything, and everybody got us out and looked after us very well. So I've got to move forward. Though I have lost my home.
5 years ago here in Hemsby, 3 homes were washed away following a storm surge. This morning, people will return, hoping history hasn't repeated itself.
Well, I'm joined now by Jan from Norfolk County Council. Jan, what's been the response from the council today?
I think it's been an excellent multi-agency response. It's been the Parish Council here locally, the Borough Council, Great Yarmouth Borough Council and Norfolk County Council working together to ensure that lives are preserved and people are looked after and cared for.
And what are you doing for the people whose homes are at risk?
So people here, in the immediate short term, we're making sure that they're safe, that they've got their possessions. In the longer term, it's certainly an ongoing debate around how communities along the coast are protected.
This morning we spoke to the Parish Council and they want to see the government step in and help here.
That's, as I say, it is an ongoing debate. My concern in terms of the emergency response is to make sure that we have plans in place to be able to deal with an emergency when it arises. What we had here was a number of years of planning with the local community to ensure, and local voluntary agencies, to ensure that there was a plan in place to ensure they're evacuated in time before they lost their homes. And it happened in a very successful way.
Well, thank you very much for joining us this morning, Jan. This morning, more residents will come back to their homes to find out what state they're in. They're worried because it looks like it could be the end of their premises.
Oh, it's a sad thing for them, isn't it? Robbie, thank you very much indeed. It's been really lovely to see the shots, because you can see it's a very, very beautiful part of the coastline. You can see why people want to live there, but also the power of those waves against the cliffs as well.
Huge chunks of the cliff disappearing over the course of the weekend. We'll leave you that shot on breakfast while we take you to the news, travel and weather. Wherever you're watching, we'll have the national headlines for you at 8 o'clock.
Hello there, good morning. A man is critically ill after being shot as he sat in the back of a taxi in Liverpool. The 40-year-old was targeted whilst in a cab on Maryport Close in Everton last night, just after 8 o'clock. No one else was injured. Police are appealing for information. The emergency services will be at the scene of a huge mill fire in Greater Manchester for the rest of this week. They're working to fully extinguish the blaze in Stalybridge, which started on Saturday night. Parts of the Ray Mill building have been left unstable by the fire. Roads in the area are still closed. Up to 40 survivors who were most seriously injured in the Manchester Arena bombing are to get treatment from a world-class facility used by athletes and other sports stars. The We Love Manchester Emergency Fund's releasing another £300,000 to help those with life-changing injuries. They'll get rehabilitation treatment at a specialist sports facility in East Manchester. Hundreds of United utility workers are on strike for a second day today as part of a dispute over pensions. Union members also walked out on Friday. The company says it's disappointed by the action, which is affecting around a third of its workforce. Delegates from businesses in Lancashire are travelling to Mexico this week on a trade mission to encourage British exports in the midst of negotiations over Brexit. The trip's been organised by the county's Chamber of Commerce.
Our intention is to grow the business dramatically over the next few years, and we see the potential of what's happened at the moment in terms of the Brexit process as an opportunity rather than as a threat.
Macclesfield-based skier Menna Fitzpatrick and her guide Jen Keogh have been celebrating winning a gold medal at the Winter Paralympics in Pyeongchang. They came first in the women's visually impaired slalom, having already won 2 silvers and a bronze in South Korea.
Winning the bronze as well was absolutely amazing. And then from the week that went on, we've just been climbing, and we just enjoyed it. And that's the main thing for us.
Now, after that latest blast of wintry weather over the weekend, let's check on the forecast for this week with Mel.
Good morning. After the wintry weekend we've just had, you'll be pleased to hear there is something a little more spring-like on the cards as we head through the week. But before we get there, we do have a yellow Met Office warning issued to cater for the risk of ice, and that lasts until 10 o'clock this morning. So it is a chilly start to the day. There is quite a bit of cloud initially, but as we head through the day, we will start to see brighter spells, even sunshine emerge. The winds slightly lighter than they were yesterday, so not feeling quite so cold, but even so, temperatures still in single figures, 7 Celsius the maximum. Heading into the overnight period then, well, we start the night with clear spells, but gradually the cloud will increase. It will be another cold one. Temperatures will be dipping down to freezing, perhaps a little bit lower than that, out into some rural spots. As we head through the day tomorrow, gradually we'll start to see some sunshine once again, and through the week, temperatures recover.
A number of roads are still closed because of the snow, including the Snake Pass and the Cat and Fiddle. Also, no trains between Hazelgrove and Buxton because of the weather, and no trains between Stockport and Altrincham at the moment. And minor delays on the Eccles line of the Metrolink as well. That's it from me for now. Bye-bye.
Hello, very good morning. Watching Breakfast with Dan Walker and Louise Minchin.
It's 8 o'clock. Heavy snowfall traps drivers for hours overnight on one of the main routes through Devon. More than 80 are sleeping in an emergency shelter.
A 60-mile stretch of the A30 was closed. Yellow ice warnings are in place across much of the country.
The severe weather is also having a dramatic impact in Norfolk, where parts of the coast have given way, putting several homes at risk. Sarah Keith Lucas will have the latest forecast for us.
Good morning. It is another bitterly cold day out there today, and although things are looking drier with some sunshine, we'll still keep the threat of that lying snow and ice. Things eventually turning a little bit milder through the rest of this week, but I'll bring you all the details in about 15 minutes.
Good morning, it's Monday the 19th of March.
Also in the programme this morning, international weapons inspectors are due in the UK to examine the nerve agent used to poison Russian ex-spy Sergei Skripal.
TV presenter Ant McPartlin is arrested on suspicion of drink driving after a collision involving 3 cars in southwest London.
Good morning. The decline of local newspapers could be fueling the rise of fake news. That's according to the government. I'll be looking at why.
Good morning. In sport, Rory's back. McIlroy wins the Arnold Palmer Invitational, seeing off the challenge of Justin Rose and Tiger Woods, with the Masters now just a couple of weeks away.
Excellent pace, good lane.
And we've got a stellar lineup on the sofa this morning. Not just one, but 3 Twinkle Toad performers. Alexandra Burke and Strictly's Kevin and Karen Clifton.
Good morning. Let's start with our main story. More than 80 drivers have been stranded overnight in Devon.
Yes, it's after a 64-mile stretch of a major road in southwest England. The A30 was shut because of heavy snow.
Police say conditions are changing rapidly from passable to impossible, and officers are asking people in Devon and Cornwall to delay travelling until mid-morning at the earliest.
Well, let's get a little bit more from our reporter Sarah Ransom, who's in Devon for us this morning, and we can see why the snow might be causing problems. Morning, Sarah.
Yes, good morning. Yes, overnight we had several inches of snow, as you can probably see behind me. Now that we had heavy snow most of the day yesterday, actually. Some of the roads now are moving. You might be able to see the A38 behind me now. Yesterday that was impassable for most of the day, but obviously now the gritters and snowplows have been out in force. But as you say, on the A30 last night, when that heavy snow came, it's on a high moor, the part which is shut today. Hundreds of motorists got stuck there. 80 or so had to spend the night in a rest centre at Oakhampton. They're still there this morning. They're being fed cups of tea and breakfast, while emergency services and the snowplows and gritters are out over there trying to clear the road. But at the moment, 60 miles of that road is shut because it's simply impassable, because there is so much snow and the temperature is dropping, and there is a real worry that it could turn to ice later on. As I say, the amber warning's gone today, but there are still weather warnings in force, and with temperatures plummeting later on, that could be a real problem. Schools, hundreds of schools are shut across the patch, and we've also got hospitals putting out requests this morning for 4x4 drivers to volunteer to come in to try and help ferry workers who are stuck in outlying locations into work to get to work this morning.
OK, Sarah, thank you very much indeed. And we'll have a full weather report for you in about 10 minutes. And we know also that there's a couple who got married and were on their way to the honeymoon and had to spend the night in the rescue centre. We're going to speak to them a little bit later.
Yes, I think they're looking forward to their proper honeymoon to start. We'll get some detail from them shortly. International chemical weapons experts are due to arrive in the UK later today to test the nerve agent used to poison the former Russian spy Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia.
President Putin says claims that his country was behind the attack are nonsense, but Boris Johnson claims Russia has been stockpiling Novichok for years.
Tom Burridge is in Salisbury for us this morning. Tom, is the hope that once this has been analysed in a couple of weeks' time, we'll know for certain exactly where it's come from?
Well, that will be the hope of the British government, Dan. I mean, basically, let's talk through the time frame of all this. So this delegation from this international body, a watchdog, if you like, for banned chemical weapons, arrived today in Wiltshire. They'll spend roughly a week here, most of that time at the Porton Down Ministry of Defence Research Facility. The idea then is that samples of the nerve agent used against Sergei and Yulia Skripal, which led them to be in a critical condition on the bench area behind me 2 weeks ago, will be sent abroad, we believe, to as many as 20 laboratories in 16 different countries. The testing itself will take 2 weeks, so we could be waiting up to 3 weeks for the conclusions of the OPCW to come back. And the key question then, I think, is if they can say anything at all to back up the government's claim that the nerve agent used in the attack was of a type developed in Russia. And I think it's worth noting that the OPCW is an independent body, and it will want to stay out as much as possible from the political and diplomatic wrangling surrounding all of this.
OK, that's Tom Burridge in Salisbury for us this morning. Tom, thank you for that.
Official results from Russia show that President Putin has been re-elected with more than 76% of the vote.
There's a bit of CCTV footage from a number of polling stations, though. It appears to show election officials stuffing boxes with ballot papers, and also there's in some of those they're obscured, aren't they, the pictures by balloons and things like that.
That's what's happening. Our correspondent Richard Galpin is in Moscow for us this morning. Morning, Richard. We knew that it was pretty much a guarantee that Putin would win this election, but just tell us about how it was conducted. Morning.
Yeah, good morning. Well, as you were saying, there have been violations. Certainly one of the election watchdogs, Golos, is saying there were hundreds of violations in different parts of the country. These included all sorts of methods, but including stuffing ballot boxes. And I think you've got video showing a couple of women trying surreptitiously to stuff the ballots into boxes in one area. That was repeated in a number of locations. There was also a case of someone who had been dead for 14 years, apparently still appearing on the electoral roll and apparently still voting. And I think probably most seriously in terms of numbers, there were lots of reports of people, particularly those working for state institutions and companies, being forced to vote and proving it to their employers by taking selfies inside the polling stations.
OK, Richard, so I'm sure more will be investigated on that over the coming days. Thank you for the moment. Richard Galpin in Moscow, in a really snowy Moscow.
Yeah, if you have a look at some of the papers this morning, I think you've got the Sun and the Mirror over there. I was looking at my pile, I think you've got it. Ant McPartlin's on the front page of quite a few of the papers. He's been arrested on suspicion of drink driving. What have you got there? Is that the Express?
Front page of the Express. I think we can see it for you at home there. Also front page of the Sun as well. And also the Mirror. Let's speak to our entertainment correspondent, Colin Patterson, about that. Colin, you know, obviously there's lots to come out about what happened, but what more can you tell us?
This all happened just before 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon in southwest London.